Hello and welcome! Today we're gonna talk about the best fighters in Star Citizen for PvP and PvE. This is gonna be a top 3 video of the best ships. There's gonna be a bonus in the end, but if you're a new player and if you're considering buying this game, you should consider using my referral code so you can get a slight bonus when starting out. So let's talk about the ships.
Hello, my name is Grumpy.
So the first and the smallest badass of a ship on this list is gonna be, of course, the Anvil Arrow. In my opinion, this ship is the best PvP ship all around. It is the smallest ship of this bunch, but it packs a huge punch. With a burst DPS of 16,072 and alpha damage of 176, when equipped with laser repeaters, this ship will take down any of the ships in the game. I even took down a few hammerheads and redeemers during jump down as a solo player in the Arrow. Now let's talk about the specs of this ship. So this ship is a light fighter. It has one size 1 shield. But why do you even need a shield if you're not gonna get hit? Because this thing is so maneuverable that it puts to shame every other ship in the game. It has a total hull HP of 9,280 HP, and with pitch and yaw of 53 degrees per second and roll rate of 190 degrees per second, it is one of the most maneuverable ships in the game. Its maximum speed is 1235 meters per second, while its SCM speed is around 200 meters per second. Now, if you don't mind losing some DPS, you can switch the top turrets to the distortion repeaters, and while it's not gonna deal any hull damage to the other ship, it is going to shut down pretty much any ship. You can even shut down enemy hammerheads if their shields are down with those size 1 distortion repeaters. Now, its fuel capacity is not the best, but you don't even need that much fuel because the enemy is gonna be dead before they know it. Now, the best thing about this ship is how it responds to controls, or its jerk profile, which is gonna be the best out of all the ships in the game. Whenever you pull on the stick, it responds immediately. When you stop pulling on the stick, it responds immediately, and it just centers. And none of the other ships in the game have this much of a precise movement ability, except maybe the P-52 and the P-72 Merlin and Archimedes, which are probably the best fighters in the game, but since they don't have a quantum drive, I'm not gonna review them at all, because like, yeah, they are just nub fighters and that's it. But what that response time gives you is that the ship feels better and more maneuverable and more lightweight compared to the Gladius, because it feels much more responsive than the Gladius, even though the Gladius has better rates. Overall, for me, this is the best PvP ship of the bunch. But I think that now is the time to talk about the most popular PvP ship in this game, and that is the Aegis Gladius. Compared to the Arrow, the Aegis Gladius is pretty much a tank. It has 2 size 1 shields and it has almost 10,000 HP, which is like 800 more than the Arrow. It has 3 size 3 hardpoints, which when equipped with laser repeaters such as Panthers or Attritions will deal 1500 DPS and 180 alpha damage. Now bear in mind that the DPS and alpha damage stats are gonna change as soon as CAG changes or reworks the weapons or weapon mechanics that we currently have in the game, because lasers are all the same basically right now. Now, with its pitch and yaw of 55 degrees per second and its roll rate of 200 degrees per second, the Gladius is a bit more maneuverable than the Arrow, but its jerk profile is not as good as the Arrow's. So the Arrow still feels like it's a bit more lightweight and it's a bit more maneuverable than the Gladius. Its maximum speed is 1236 meters per second and its SCM speed is 208 meters per second, so that's just slightly above the Arrow, but this thing is much larger than the Arrow. So the Arrow is basically like 2/3 of a Gladius size-wise. Now, speaking of weapons, you can maybe change one of the weapons to the distortion repeater, but I would not advise you to do that because you're gonna lose the valuable DPS, because this thing already has less DPS than the arrow, and more DPS means faster kills. Now, why is it the most popular PvP ship in the game currently? Solely because it has 2 size 2 shields, and it feels like a tank compared to the arrow. Arrow is, well, for most of us, it feels better to fly in, but the Gladius can just tank more shots. And that is basically the reason why people love it more. The other thing is that its downward thrusters are a bit better than the arrows, so you can pull more Gs and you can make tighter turns with the Gladius. Because the Gladius can produce 8.5 Gs of upward thrust, while the arrow can only do 8. But when tricording, both of those can do basically the same 14.0 Gs of thrust, so they are pretty comparable. And in the end, the Gladius has 4 size 3 hardpoints for the missiles, and it doesn't really matter because the missiles don't really matter right now, except if you're using EM missiles. But yeah, just wait for the other patch and we'll see what are the best missiles. But let's talk about the best heavy fighter, and that's gonna be the Vanguard Sentinel. Now, contrary to popular belief, the Hurricane is not the best heavy fighter. Yes, it is pretty good, but it got nerfed a bit and now it's a bit better, but still, you really need a second guy in the ship. You need a second person in the ship to help you out and to be on the gun. The Sentinel, well, not as much. If you have a Sentinel, you are pretty much a one-man mass murderer. I used to hold Jumptown just with my Sentinel as a single person for like 2 or 3 days straight. I didn't get killed once. And well, that says a lot about the guys that I fought and their like incompetence, but it also says a lot about the ship and how good it actually performs. Just go watch my fire video. It's a song that I did, and it's like a Jumptown video, and I had 69 kills basically just with the Sentinel. So that's how amazing this thing is. Now, this thing, or the Sentinel, doesn't have the best pitch, yaw, and roll rates. It has 32 degrees per second of pitch and yaw, and its roll is 120 degrees per second, which is not that bad for a heavy fighter. It has 2 size 2 shields, and it has a total HP of 42,400 HP. So it's built like a tank, and it has a speed as a tank. Its maximum speed is gonna be 1022 meters per second, and its SCM speed is 171 meters per second. Now, it has 5 hardpoints for the weapons. The main gun is going to be a size 5 on the nose, and the other guns are size 2s that are proprietary to Vanguards. Now, you should never use a size 5 on the nose, and you should put a size 4 attrition or a size 4 CF repeater on the nose, because size 5 repeaters and its rounds have less velocity than the size 4s. They have half of the velocity, so it is gonna fuck up your targeting completely. So when you're using a size 4 and 4 size 2 laser repeaters, you're gonna get a DPS of 2400 and an alpha of 256 HP. Now, in the end, the fuel capacity is amazing, and you can upgrade the jump drive to one of the best drives in the verse, and that's gonna be the XL1, which is gonna be the fastest drive. So if you're chasing a guy, you're probably gonna get there before him. It has 4 size 4 missile hardpoints, and the biggest threat of this thing is, of course, the EMP. The EMP's range is 700 meters, and you should try to pop it as close as possible to the other guy when the shields are down. And I can't stress this enough. I have had a bunch of fights where I should have lost to a Sentinel, but he didn't know when to pop the EMP because my shields were up and my shields just soaked up all the EMP damage. And this EMP makes this ship the most overpowered piece of ship in the game currently. I hope it doesn't get nerfed, but like there are counters to all of that. But I didn't see that like people really understand how to counter the EMP or how to stay away from the Sentinel and shoot it from distance. But wait, that is not all, because you have a turret with 2 size 2 hardpoints. So all in all, this is an amazing ship. Now, how can you counter a ship like this? Well, we should talk about the special guest or the bonus ship for this video, and that's gonna be the Esperia Talon. Esperia? I don't know. Now, the Talon is one of the best fighters from before 3.14 or from before the rework of the flight models. And now it has made a comeback with the size 4 cannons that were, well, changed for the past few patches. The size 4 cannons that I'm talking about are the C78 repeaters. I'm not going to talk about the Esperia Talon in this video that much because it is not really that good of a fighter. It is okay, but you should only fly it if you are in a squadron. If you're a solo, you're not going to have a lot of fun with it. And it goes the same for all the medium fighters. Even though this is a light fighter, it performs like a medium fighter, and as soon as the shields are down, you are basically fucked. But what it does have is 2 size 4 hardpoints, and you can watch my video on this when I figured out that you can actually do this again. And on those hardpoints you can mount size 4 C788 cannons, which are gonna deal a lot of splash damage to your enemies. Now that splash damage is gonna deal a lot of component damage to your enemies even if the shields are up. And you can disable an enemy ship and like destroy its power plant or the shields with a few hits with the C788s, and that is why the Talon is just like a bonus on this video, because it is amazing and you don't even need to kill people, you can just disable them and just watch them fall to their death. And other than that, the Talon maneuvers pretty nicely. It has a pitch of 56 degrees per second, yaw rate of 57 degrees per second, and the roll rate of 215 degrees per second. But its jerk profile is not as good as the arrows. And yes, if you look at the stats, it does look like the best fighter overall, because it has 2 size 1 shields, it has a hull HP of 18,730 HP, and it has a really good like roll, pitch and yaw rate, but when the shields are down, if you get hit in your wing, and you will get hit, you will lose the wing and you will lose all the control of the ship. So it's not really that good, and its like front profile is so big that it's really hard to miss when you're in a dogfight. Other than that, it only has 2 size 4 hardpoints, and you really want to use the C788 cannons if you want to be effective with it. And yeah, you really need to be really experienced for that. And in the end, if you go with the laser repeaters, you're gonna have a DPS of 1280 and alpha damage of 160 HP. So yeah, the clear winners for me here are the Arrow and the Sentinel. But you can tell me in the comments if you agree with me or if you disagree with me, and I hope you liked the video. And of course, I gotta thank my patrons for sponsoring the video. If you want to become a patron, you can support the channel by clicking on the link down below, or in the end of the video there's gonna be a thumbnail. And yeah, that's all. Thank you, and I love you, and goodbye, and yeah, PvP is life. Bye. Oh yeah, don't forget to bring a towel when you're traveling through space. Love you. Bye. Mwah.